The ocean. Billions of cubic kilometers of water fill the earth. Its immense size never ceases to amaze us. Life is constantly evolving beneath the surface. A deep and diverse world full of the weird and wonderful. Large marine creatures roam these pelagic waters. Prehistoric animals that attract attention from those on land. But hiding in the shadows of these mighty mammals are other kinds of creatures. Rare and strange, brightly colored, but also masters of disguise. Delicate, but potentially poisonous, hunters and hunted. Together they feed, mimic, take refuge, and coexist in a multitude of ecosystems, more diverse than those on land. These strange species hide deep underwater, a mystery even to scientists. Incredible beings coexisting in the harsh conditions of the marine environment, in a constant struggle for survival. Together, this community of weird ocean creatures transforms the underwater world into an extraordinary place. Underwater sandflats are the vast deserts beneath the surface. Despite their calm appearance, they harbor much more life than meets the eye. These vast expanses are composed of different types of sediments, those of organic origin, such as animal remains, or others of volcanic or littoral origin, which occur due to erosion caused by the sea. Other components of the underwater sand are the tiny microorganisms that provide food for numerous species that live buried in these soft sea bottoms, or that appear as they pass through, filtering the sand. There is hardly any flora or other elements that can protect vulnerable species, which is why many animals remain hidden either under the substrate or wearing colors similar to the environment so that they go unnoticed by other species. This terrain is one of the most hostile and dangerous for its inhabitants. Lembe, this small island, remarkable for its luxuriant vegetation, surprises underwater with its vast expanses of sand. In a seemingly calm environment, a subtle movement reveals the presence of one of the creatures most skilled in the art of camouflage. the decorator crab. Its body is covered with remains of marine flora and small filaments that contribute to its mimicry with its surroundings. The crab moves in harmony with the movement of the water. It uses its small pincers and tiny teeth with which it can crush food and thus nourish itself with the variety of food provided by the sandy bottom. This adaptation not only allows it to hide from potential predators, but also makes it easier to find sustenance in this marine ecosystem. Swaying in the gentle current, this ghost pipefish flies over the seabed. Its adaptation to the environment consists of a morphology that mimics a seaweed or a leaf. At first glance, they move along the sand, seemingly calmly, but in reality, with their eyes fixed on the ground, they're searching for the small organisms that serve as their food. Another marine creature that is a master of camouflage and is similar in appearance and behavior is the leaf fish. As its name suggests, this fish imitates a fallen leaf. Its coloring and the way it moves allow it to blend in with plant debris floating in the water. It frequently crosses the sandy bed, where its appearance protects it from predators and makes it easier to get close to prey. Both the ghost pipefish and the leaf fish are perfect examples of evolution. They use their mimicry as a defense, but also as an extremely efficient hunting tool. A lone wrasse has found a place to hide, but the crinoid seems to wait for night to unfold its arms. When they open their arms, these animals look like small moving bushes. These arms are used for movement and feeding. These underwater expanses of sand become infinite for a tiny ocellated frogfish that moves slowly and barely reaches the size of a bottle cap. Its small, almost imperceptible body slips cautiously between the irregular sand particles. Almost completely hidden, a roosterfish seems to be watching it. Its camouflage is so effective that you can barely make out its eyes or the spine that protrudes shyly from the seabed. As the frogfish continues its silent journey, without taking much notice of its mimetic companion, a small crab crosses its path. For a moment, the two creatures share this vast underwater space. However, in a show of indifference, they both turn away and continue their journey along the sandy bottom. Despite its desert-like appearance, hidden in the sand, the environment is surprisingly rich. But in this corner of Indonesia, the spotlight is undoubtedly on a most curious cephalopod. Unlike other octopuses, the mimic octopus can not only change the color and texture of its skin, but can adopt the appearance of at least 15 different marine species. It adapts not only its coloring, but also the shape, movements, and body behavior of these species. This ability to mimic is used both to avoid predators and to ambush prey. Its entire body is covered in red and white bands, but despite its striking attire, it's a cunning and stealthy hunter. It has complete control over the shape of its body and moves through the environment with the utmost precision and fluidity. These skills allow it to approach its prey unseen. When hunting, it's always attentive and constantly on the move. Thanks to its sensitive tentacles that scan the bottom like extensions of its mind, it has detected the hiding place of a crab. The tentacles glide over the sandy surface. In an instant, with one swift and accurate movement, the crab is captured. It shreds the crab's exoskeleton with its sharp beak as it continues to glide along the seabed. The crab's legs are still moving, visible beneath the octopus's mantle as they flail in a last-ditch effort to escape. Without stopping its advance, the octopus slowly devours it. In a few minutes, the victim disappears completely. One of the characteristics of sand is that it's not very durable. The sedimentation can change with storms, and its instability makes it almost impossible to settle there. Despite this, there are animals that use this to their advantage and become true underground architects. The underwater depths between the waters of the Gulf of Aqaba have a different appearance. Unlike other places with fine white sand, here the sand is coarser and darker because it is made up of volcanic sediments and coral fragments. Here, more irregular landscapes and gentle slopes are formed. However, these seabeds are also full of life. The seabed in this new scenario is filled with small columns that sway, adding dynamism to the calm environment. Garden eels live in large colonies, and each individual builds its residence by digging a hole in the sand from which it never fully emerges. Although their fragile appearance may suggest vulnerability, they are well adapted to this habitat. In step with the water in a joint dance, these animals take advantage of the currents to feed on tiny animals, and their elongated bodies flow out of the sand, barely skimming it. In the vicinity of this unusual sandy landscape, one of the most fascinating relationships between marine species takes place. The mutualism between small sand gobies and blind shrimps. In this case, a spotted goby and an alphade shrimp. These two species have established a perfect symbiosis, a partnership vital to their survival. Their home not only means protection for the fish, but also for the shrimp, which, despite its inability to see, is an excellent digger. Their mutualistic relationship is based on exchanging tasks. Always in constant contact by means of one of its antennae, the goby defends the house from predators, and the shrimp builds it, keeps it clean, and provides the food on which the goby feeds. In some species, two gobies are sometimes present instead of one, and that's not accidental. This phenomenon occurs due to high predator pressure in the area. When one goby is able to find a safe haven, it may attract another goby to form a partnership in which both can benefit from better protection. And by having two sentinels instead of one, the blind shrimp also gains a more effective surveillance system, thus increasing its own chances of survival. The cooperation between the blind shrimp and these two high-fin red-banded gobies highlights the complexity of interactions in marine ecosystems, where each creature contributes to the survival of others in a delicate balance. In the Cape Verde Islands, there are places where the sand is fine and loose, creating a perfect habitat for various marine species. In this landscape, a snake eel, commonly known locally as a tieso, burrows slowly into the sand. It uses its undulating movement to bury itself, leaving only the top of its head visible. This behavior not only provides camouflage, but also helps it to hunt prey found on the surface, such as small fish and crustaceans. In addition to its hunting ability, the snake eel also plays an important role in the seabed ecosystem. By burrowing in the sand, it helps to aerate the substrate and maintain the health of the habitat, favoring the growth of other marine organisms. This interaction with the environment, together with its cunning hunting technique, makes the snake eel an essential component of Cape Verde's marine biodiversity. Many of the species that traverse the sand are just passing through. They come to this environment in search of food. They travel long distances without settling in a fixed place. Sand nomads are a large and diverse group and are adapted to a constantly changing environment where resources are scarce and mobility is key to survival. The blue dragon nudibranch crawls across the sand flats with amazing skill as it absorbs small portions of sand. It keeps what it needs and expels the rest. As it passes, it draws a small path that adorns its surroundings. In the same way as the nudibranch, this dragonfish expels sand in search of small crustaceans. It moves delicately, almost skimming the sand, but with a nervous gesture. Due to its cryptic coloring and elongated body, it easily blends in with its surroundings. It's a fish that lacks a swim bladder, so it can't swim, which is why it moves along the bottom and buries itself easily. Thanks to its gill slit on its head, it can breathe without any trouble and stay hidden for as long as it needs to. On the sandy bottom of the Batangas Sea, two octopuses meet. Each on its own course, but both aware of the other's presence. These cephalopods have flexible bodies with elongated tentacles with which they slowly crawl along the seabed. Each movement is precise, reaching out considerably to touch and feel the substrate, using their arms as tools of exploration. As both move calmly across the sand, their behavior reflects the complex social life of octopuses. The sea moth has a striking appearance and unusual behavior. Closer to the surface, it moves along the sea floor using its pectoral fins in a motion reminiscent of a moth's fluttering wings, a movement that allows it to navigate close to the bottom in search of small prey or other food. Hence its very original name. This fish can camouflage itself in its environment thanks to its body of brown tones and earthy textures that mimic Batangas sea bottoms. A shadow momentarily obscures its surroundings. Stingrays are expert hunters on sandy seabeds. Their flat bodies and wing-like fins flutter gently, creating a cloud of sediment. They use their electroreceptors to detect prey. They're able to accurately pick up the weak electric fields generated by small crustaceans or fish hidden under the sand. They use the suction method. When they find prey, they generate a vacuum by rapidly opening and closing their mouths to suck the food away from the sea floor. As the sun sets over the seas of the Visayas in the Philippines, the seascape begins to transform. In this scenario, small sea snails creep along, half burying themselves in the sand, surrounded by the zooplankton that appear during the night, composed of small larvae of various species. They use their flexible bodies to glide under the sandy surface and their shells as a shield. This visual spectacle of tiny creatures envelops the area as other nocturnal inhabitants appear. The tropical conger eel, with its elongated, snaky body, examines the terrain with its sinuous figure. At the same time, the snails search for small particles and organic detritus to feed on while protecting themselves from possible predators that might detect them in the dark. While the snails travel great distances digging in the sand, the conger eel may choose to bury itself in preparation for ambushing any unwary prey that crosses its path. This technique, which during the night is useful for hunting, will be useful during the day to hide in its entirety and protect itself from predators. This small miniature ecosystem reveals how different marine species can interact with delicate balance, taking advantage of the environment's resources without conflict. At night, in the warm waters of Bali in the Indonesian seas, a large anemone welcomes two species that live with it in symbiosis. A group of commensal shrimps and elegant domino damselfish. This scene is a perfect example of cooperation in the marine environment. These anemone shrimp have transparent bodies that almost disappear in the water. They move on the anemone like little puppets. Their movements are fast and delicate, as if propelled by invisible threads that make them float on stinging tentacles. They feed on the leftover food trapped by the anemone, an easy food source that allows them to coexist without being attacked by the poisonous tentacles. Alongside them, the domino damselfish also enjoy the shelter provided by the anemone. Their bodies are resistant to the toxins of their protector, which makes it easier for them to safely find shelter among its tentacles. It's not only a place to protect themselves from predators, but also a base from which to hunt small organisms. Some shrimp venture out a little further, moving away from the anemone and landing on nearby rocks. Without straying too far away, they continue to explore and search for small food particles that may be trapped in the crevices of the rock. Scouring the vast sandy plains, large schools of filterfish appear. They gobble up small mouthfuls of sand and extract nutrients that are hidden beneath the desert-like appearance. Behind the trail of sand they leave in their wake, other more solitary fish take the opportunity to scour the debris left behind by the box-lipped mullet. Snappers and red mullet scour the same area. The filaments of the latter, with which they stir up the bottom, are sensitive to the movements of possible prey. As they pass by, the sand cloud becomes even thicker with sediment, something that this red-striped wrasse and some three-lined snapper take advantage of. Despite the dizzying speed with which these animals trap the sandy substrate, filter-feeding species don't always cross the seabed in such a hurry. The elongated, flexible body of filter worms allows them to move through the tiny grains of sand as their tentacles covered in smaller filaments unfurl to snatch up microscopic organisms. This strange creature thus contributes to cleaning the ocean floor, recycling nutrients, and playing a major role in the regeneration of the benthic ecosystem. There are many species that filter out sand particles, and they do so in very different ways. Some have no natural defenses, so they choose to protect themselves by other means. Hermit crabs use a selective way of feeding. They do this by means of their front claws. Although static, they move the substrate, extracting what they need and bringing it to their mouths. In this process, it keeps its mouth cavity and eyes clean by means of small but fast antennae. The Lembe Strait, once remote and tranquil, is increasingly affected by the growing presence of man and his boats. Beneath its waters, the abandoned shells of mollusks are being used by other very different species. A coconut octopus seems to be busy. Cleverly, it uses 3 shells it has collected to make its shelter. This species of octopus is known for its ability to use objects in the environment as tools. Aided by the suction cups on its tentacles, it handles them with great dexterity. It carefully stacks and places them around itself as it prepares to bury itself. Nearby, a cowrie snail is slowly moving forward. This marine snail is known for its elegant shell and its ecological importance in marine ecosystems. Its movement is quiet, but its presence is significant on the seabed as it plays a crucial role in the feeding of other organisms. Meanwhile, the octopus has managed to bury itself. Protected by shells, it barely reveals its expressive eyes and siphon. A small harlequin crab, perhaps intimidated by the octopus's watchful eye, hastens to hide in the sand. The octopus tries to blow it out of its hiding place, but it chooses to bury itself, knowing that it is safer near the octopus. Most species need protection from predators, which is why they build shelters. A pair of banded gobies has found theirs in a hole in the sand. These vibrantly colored, elongated fish take turns to guard and keep their underground space clean. They do this by aerating the sand with their fins and scooping it out with their mouths. In the fascinating underwater world, where every corner of the ocean holds endless secrets, you can find groups of creatures as special as this one. A diadema sea urchin and tiny phantom pipefish have decided to live together using the elements available on the seabed to make a home. In this diversity of habitats, small ecosystems are created where life flourishes in harmony. Each creature eventually finds its place. In these vast underwater deserts, any isolated element becomes a small home for a new inhabitant. It is then that symbiotic or mutualistic relationships emerge, as between this wrasse and an anemone. While the fish is constantly on the move, helping to clean the anemone provides it with food in the form of small invertebrates that reside in it. On the sand, even a weak and solitary branch becomes a perfect home for an even more delicate creature, the pygmy pipefish. This fish, with its elongated body and great ability to blend in with its surroundings, fades into the algae and corals on the branch. Its small filaments and body protrusions allow it to elude predators while foraging for food by sucking up small organisms. Not far away, like the seahorse, a filefish no larger than 3 centimeters uses a whip coral to hide. This fish, flat in shape and similar in color to its surroundings, uses this ability to camouflage itself and prey on small organisms living on the seabed. A solitary green fan algae hides a small slug known as the sea sheep. This curious species is no more than 7 millimeters in size and is covered in bright green hues thanks to its ability to photosynthesize the algae it ingests. This tiny mollusk is not only a visual spectacle, but also plays a vital role in the marine food chain. In these sandy realms, the lack of visible structures or natural refuges leaves the creatures exposed to currents and potential predators. That's why this environment is so hostile. A tiny orangutan crab fights tenaciously against the strong currents sweeping through the underwater desert in the Maldives. Its tiny legs cling to the grains of sand as it slowly makes its way forward, taking what it can from this unfriendly environment. At the same spot, a crinoid begins to bloom, unfurling its delicate arms and announcing the arrival of night. After its arduous journey, the crab has reached an islet of rock and coral. There, among algae and corals, it will be perfectly camouflaged. Its body, full of hair-like filaments, mimics the vegetation of the area, so that it can spend the night in safety. In these situations where strong currents prevail, small colonies full of life sometimes emerge and gather together for shelter. With no obstacles in their way, the sea urchins advance in formation like a military detachment. As they get closer and closer, pipefish and seahorses seek shelter under the urchins, while clinging to a branch to keep from being swept away. On the sandy ground, the soles, expert in camouflage, scour the surroundings, probing the terrain with precision in search of food. This fragile balance between survival and adaptation defines life in these inhospitable underwater landscapes. Life in the vast expanses of sand beneath the sea presents unique and constant challenges. The ability to adapt to this inhospitable landscape is crucial for survival. Camouflage, burial, and other special abilities to find food in this ever-changing environment are key strategies that allow these species to not only survive, but thrive in one of the most demanding habitats in the ocean. In the next episode, the coral reef takes center stage. Sometimes it's so fragile that the slightest changes in the ecosystem can make it disappear. But at the same time, this colorful landscape becomes a safe space that offers refuge to thousands of creatures.